My boyfriend beat up my coworker in jealous rage, then blamed me after he left the hospital. There's a moment, right before your world starts to split, where everything still looks normal. That was me, standing in front of the glass doors of Orion Creative Agency at 8:47 p.m., holding my laptop bag, phone, and a bag of leftover Thai food from the office fridge. I just pulled a 12-hour shift designing a pitch deck our boss wanted yesterday. I was tired, hungry, ready to collapse. That's when Wes Carter, my coworker, pulled up in his old red Ford. "Hey, Madison, want a ride? It's late." Normally, I'd Uber. But it was pouring, my account was low, and Wes had always been safe, respectful, chill. "Sure. Thanks." He didn't even try to make small talk. Just turned on the heater, played lo-fi jazz, and drove. By the time we reached my apartment complex off Lamar Boulevard, I felt a weird peace. That lasted until I opened the passenger door and heard someone shout my name. "Madison." That voice? Low, sharp, and already vibrating with anger? Dylan. He was standing by the stairs, soaked from the rain, hoodie darkened with wet spots. His fists were clenched, his jaw tight. I froze. Wes did too. "Dylan? What are you doing here?" He didn't answer. He stormed across the lot, eyes locked on Wes. "You think you can drive my girl home?" Wes held up his hands. "Hey man, relax." Dylan didn't let him finish. He swung. The sound of skin hitting skin hard echoed through the lot. Wes stumbled backward, hand to his cheek. Dylan came at him again. This time, Wes fought back. And within seconds, it turned into a full-blown parking lot brawl. I screamed, ran between them, tried to push Dylan back, but he was in a rage, wild, erratic, out of control. Then, something snapped. Dylan went down. He hit the pavement with a sickening thud, not because Wes landed a knockout punch, but because he slipped, cracked his head on the curb. And just like that, everything went quiet. Wes stood there, breathing heavy, eyes wide with panic. I knelt beside Dylan. He was breathing, barely conscious. I grabbed my phone and called 911. At St. Vincent's Medical Center, everything blurred. Flashing lights, questions, forms. A police officer asked what happened. I told the truth, mostly. Said they fought. Said Dylan started it. Didn't mention the ride home. Wes left quietly, holding a cold pack to his jaw. Dylan? They kept him overnight for a concussion and observation. I sat beside his hospital bed, heart still racing. Then he opened his eyes. "You let him hit me," he croaked. My mouth dropped. "What? You just stood there. Let him embarrass me. You didn't even defend me." I blinked. "You attacked him, Dylan. He tried to touch you. You let him drive you. That's all I needed to see. It wasn't about seeing. It was about controlling. But I couldn't say that. Not yet. I just stood there, shaking, feeling like I'd somehow caused this. Like I was the villain. And the worst part? The guilt started sinking in, even though I hadn't done anything wrong. That's what emotional bruising does. It shows up before the logic does. If you're not following our channel, you might never see it again. But if you're subscribed and use the bell, congratulations. You'll always have access to the most interesting stories whenever you want to watch and listen. 2 days later, I got called into HR. Sandra Briggs was polite but cold. "We're getting pressure from Wes's family. He's not filing charges, but there's concern. You understand how this looks, right?" I nodded. "Just keep your personal life out of the office moving forward. No more late-night drop-offs. No drama in the parking lot." She didn't say it, but I heard it. "We're watching you." Dylan texted later that night. "I love you. I just got scared. Don't let this ruin us." It was the first time I looked at those words and didn't feel safe. I felt cornered, and something in me cracked open. This wasn't love. This was warning. Hashtag Chapter 2. Hospital guilt and gaslight games. After the fight, Dylan was discharged with a bandage on the side of his head and a paper from St. Vincent's listing mild concussion, minor contusions, and emotional trauma. He took that paper and ran with it like it was a badge of honor. I stayed by his side the next morning, not because I wanted to, but because I didn't know how not to. I was conditioned to explain away his anger, to believe that love sometimes looked messy, even if messy meant violent. He sat on the couch in sweats, ice pack pressed to his skull, scrolling through his phone while I cleaned up the kitchen. "You should have told Sandra it was Wes who started it," he said. I paused mid-swipe of the counter. "That's not what happened." He glanced up, slow, deadpan. "So you're on his side?" There it was again. That twist. I wasn't on anyone's side. I was on the side of the truth. But every time I said that around Dylan, it became a betrayal. I wasn't defending him enough. I wasn't handling things like a partner. He started sending texts that week. Guilt-laced grenades like, "Asterisk, you let me go to the hospital alone." Asterisk, "I'm still hurt. But you're too busy working. Asterisk, if you didn't flirt with guys at work, none of this would have happened. It was like watching someone take pieces of my own voice and weaponize them against me. At work, Wes was gone. Told HR he needed time off. Rumors flew. Some said Dylan had nearly broken his jaw. Others said it was all Madison's fault for mixing business with her drama. I started getting looks in the hallway. Sympathy with a hint of judgment. Like I was damaged goods. Sandra called me in again. Wes's sister came by with photos. From the hospital. She's talking about filing a formal complaint. I stared at the floor. Do I still have my job? You do. For now. But Madison, keep your personal life clean. We can't afford another incident. I left that office with a lump in my throat that wouldn't go away for days. That night, Dylan came over with a grocery bag and a bouquet of grocery store flowers. He smiled like nothing had happened. Made pasta. Set the table. Lit a candle. I wanted to scream. Instead, I sat. He poured wine. Raised a glass. To second chances, he said. I didn't clink mine. He noticed. Still mad? I stared at him. You beat up my coworker, Dylan. You lost control. You blamed me. His jaw tightened. Because you let him get close to you. You act like it's not a big deal, but you flirt. You smile at everyone. Do you even see how you come off? There it was. The gaslight. I'm not crazy. I'm just trying to keep you mine. He said it like it was romantic. But I heard the bars in his voice. He was trying to keep me caged. I went to the bathroom. Locked the door. Looked at myself in the mirror. I didn't look like me anymore. Didn't recognize the girl who used to joke at meetings. Who laughed at Wes's dry humor. Who loved designing campaigns that made people feel something. Now I felt numb. I turned on the shower just for the noise. Sat on the floor. And cried. Not because Dylan yelled. Not because I'd nearly lost my job. But because I realized something terrifying. I wasn't scared of Dylan hurting me. I was scared of never leaving. Before we go further, don't forget to like this story, hit subscribe, and tap the bell so you don't miss what happens next. I didn't go into work the next day. Told Sandra I needed a personal day. She didn't argue. Just said, take care of yourself, Madison. No warmth. Just protocol. I pulled the blinds closed, curled up on the couch, and opened my laptop. Not to work. To search. Dylan Moore arrest record Texas. The results came faster than I was ready for. A mugshot. 2 years old. His face, younger but unmistakably his jaw set, eyes hollow. Charge, assault. I clicked deeper. He'd been in a fight outside a club in Houston. Punched a bouncer so hard the guy needed stitches. The charges were dropped. No one pressed. No one followed up. Dylan never told me. He'd spun some story back when we first started dating about people testing his patience and having a past. I thought he meant mistakes in college. I didn't think he meant violence. I stared at the mugshot until my screen blurred. And then I called the only person I still trusted like a lighthouse. My mom. She picked up on the second ring. Hey, sweetheart. The second I said Dylan's name, her tone changed. What did he do? I told her everything. The fight. The guilt trips. The flowers. The records. Silence. Then her voice, soft and sharp. Madison, listen to me. This man will destroy you. He's already started. I've seen it before. It starts with excuses. Ends with fear. I was already in the middle. She begged me to leave. Said she'd drive up from Waco that weekend. Help me pack. Make a plan. But I didn't wait. The next day, I emailed Wes. Subject line, I'm sorry. He responded within an hour. Hey, it's okay. Just glad you're safe. He told me his sister, Jordan, had filed the photos with HR as backup in case he needed legal proof. He hadn't decided whether to press charges. But he'd transferred to a different branch, one far from Dylan, far from me. Can't say I'm not a little relieved, he wrote. But I hate that it came to this. I told him I understood. Because I did. That night, I opened a second bank account. Moved money over. Just enough to get me started somewhere new, if needed. Then I Googled support groups. Found one, Safe Steps Women's Outreach. They had counselors. Legal help. A woman I spoke to over the phone, her name was Trina, told me something I haven't forgotten since. You don't need bruises to prove you're in danger. She told me about emotional abuse. About psychological control. About how isolation wasn't always a locked room. Sometimes it was a room full of people who just didn't believe you. That hit me hardest. Because no one at work had come to check on me. No one texted. No one called. Dylan had made me look radioactive. And now, I was ready to disappear. That weekend, Dylan texted. You good? Haven't heard from you. I'm bringing over Chinese. I didn't answer. He called 5 minutes later. Then again. Then 10 more times in the next hour. I turned my phone off. Packed a bag. and drove to my mom's. On the road, with headlights trailing behind me and silence inside my car, I realized something. It wasn't just about Dylan. It was about finally choosing me. No more apologies. No more begging people to see the full picture. The truth hurt. But hiding from it? That hurt worse. I spent that entire weekend at my mom's house in Waco, a quiet, old single-story home with lemon trees in the backyard and a porch swing that hadn't creaked in years. It felt like a different universe. No Dylan. No tense phone calls. No pretending. Just real stillness. And in that stillness, I started to think clearly. I couldn't go back. Not to the apartment, not to the job where whispers followed me down the hall, and definitely not to Dylan's version of love, the kind that came with bruised egos and careful apologies. So I made a list. Not a fantasy escape list. A real one. Step 1. Close our shared account. Step 2. Transfer my lease to a subletter. Harper from marketing owed me a favor. Step 3. Change locks on the apartment. Step 4. Meet with the counselor from Safe Steps in person. Step 5. File for a no-contact order. I didn't cry while writing it. I was past crying. I was planning. Monday morning, I drove back to Austin. Dylan had stopped texting. No calls. Nothing. I figured maybe he got the hint. That was optimistic. At 3:12 p.m., just as I walked into the leasing office to start paperwork, he texted, "Open the door. I'm outside." My breath caught. I looked up. There he was, standing at my door, holding a bouquet of red roses and a plastic grocery bag. I ducked behind a planter and texted back, "You need to leave." He responded instantly, "Come on, Mats." I said I was sorry. "I've been giving you space. Now let me in." I stayed frozen. My leasing manager walked out and asked, "Everything okay?" I whispered, "Can you call building security?" 2 minutes later, they showed up and asked Dylan to leave. He didn't resist. Just looked around like he was confused. Like I was the problem. He left without a word. But that night, he got bold. First came the texts. "I forgave you for flirting, and this is what I get? I've done everything for you. Maybe I should send those photos you didn't want anyone to see. People should know what kind of girl you really are." Then came the voicemails. Angry. Long. Some rambling. Some threatening. I saved all of them. I took them straight to Safe Steps the next morning. Trina, the counselor I'd spoken to on the phone, was even more powerful in person. She had a folder of paperwork ready before I sat down. We filed for a protective order. We documented every text, every voicemail, every gift he'd left at my door without permission. And we made a plan. Trina told me I could get an emergency restraining order if I felt unsafe before the court date. I did. I got it granted by noon. The apartment manager changed the locks by 5 p.m. That night, I went home to silence. It was beautiful. No flowers on the doorstep. No texts buzzing in. Just silence. I poured a glass of wine and stood in the doorway of my bedroom. Everything looked the same, but I wasn't. I was different now. Wiser. Tired. But free. Almost. It was a Wednesday night when he finally crossed the line for the last time. I'd just gotten out of the shower. Hair in a towel, face bare, sweats on. My phone buzzed on the bathroom counter. Unknown number, I let it ring. Then it buzzed again, this time, a voicemail. Against my better judgment, I listened. "You can't erase me. You think a piece of paper's gonna keep me away? You made me this way, Madison. You broke us. Don't act like you didn't play a part. I've got things you don't want out there. Think real hard before you make another move." My hand shook as I pressed save. Not delete. Save. I sent it to Trina at Safe Steps, who forwarded it straight to the Travis County PD. By the next morning, there was a warrant issued for violating the emergency protective order. He hadn't physically come near me. But threats like that? That counted. And I wasn't just protecting myself anymore. I was drawing a line, loud, legal, and permanent. He didn't go quietly. Friday night, 2 officers showed up at his mother's house in South Austin. They said he was cooperative, but seething. He called me from county jail. I didn't answer. He left one last voicemail. "Congratulations. You destroyed everything. You'll always be alone, Madison. People will see what you really are." But by then his words felt small, like a balloon deflating in slow motion. All hiss, no pop. I sat in my living room with Harper and my mom, drinking cider and folding laundry while we listened to it together. Mom raised an eyebrow. "That's the guy you let call you beautiful?" Harper scoffed. "He sounds like a sad boy who just got outplayed by a grown woman." We all laughed. Not a mocking laugh, a cleansing one. Because he couldn't reach me anymore. Not emotionally. Not legally. Not at all. The court hearing 2 weeks later was quick. Restraining order granted. Permanent. He wasn't allowed within 500 feet of me, my job, my home, or my car. He didn't even show up. Sent a lawyer who barely looked at me. And just like that, it was done. No more Dylan. But that didn't mean healing happened overnight. I still flinched when the doorbell rang unexpectedly. Still checked the locks 3 times before bed. Still had dreams where I was apologizing and didn't know why. Trauma's funny like that. It doesn't just vanish with a signature on a form. But every day got a little quieter. Every moment felt a little more mine. And when Sandra from HR called to tell me I'd been considered for a new project lead role because of how I'd handled the past month under pressure, I didn't cry. I smiled. Because for once, I was being recognized for something real. Not how much I could bend, but how much I'd grown. Certainly, I'll rewrite Chapter 6 to be a richer, deeper conclusion with approximately 7,000 characters, completing Madison's journey with more vivid detail, emotional resonance, and satisfying closure. Let's elevate the final chapter into something truly powerful. ## Chapter 6. I lost a boyfriend but found peace. The restraining order came through on a Thursday morning. That moment, when a judge officially signed off on keeping Dylan far from me, felt like the first time I could breathe in months. Not deep breaths terror-lacing them, but steady inhales, like taking back space that wasn't mine. Friday morning, I didn't jump out of bed at 6 a.m., scared of what message might pop up on my phone next. There were no phantom notifications on silent mode. Just sunlight warming my sheets, and an afternoon of quiet ahead. It was glorious. I made coffee with no guilt, left my hair wet without checking my appearance for approval, and even laughed out loud at a dog barking in the hallway. That dog wasn't Dylan. This was peace. I spent Saturday at a park, curled up with my journal under an oak tree. I wrote, **I feared phones. Now I let them ring. **, I feared texts. Now I let some go unread. **, I feared silence. Now I crave it. I sipped iced tea and watched leaves fall. No noise. No messages. Just me. On Sunday, I met Harper at the cafe. She went for pancakes, I went for avocado toast, and we cracked up halfway through because I tried to order a peace latte and accidentally said peace of mind latte. We fell into that genuine, comfortable space you can only share with someone who's seen you at your worst. She said, "You're glowing." She didn't mean pretty. She meant alive. I realized I was living in color again. Not muted pastels of anxiety and second-guessing, but full, bold hues of someone who mattered. Monday morning, I walked into Orion Creative Agency feeling different. I'd prepared a speech about my recent experience, how I nearly lost myself in someone else's control. The boss, Sandra, had called me in late last week. "We want to give you a shot," she said. "Creative lead on the new nonprofit campaign. You showed more strength under pressure than anyone else." I blinked, then smiled. Me recognized. Not for bending, but for rising. I spoke to the team. Not dripping with drama, but firm. "I'm committed. Clear. Creative. Let's do amazing work together." They nodded. They believed me. It felt normal, but somehow more honest than I'd ever felt at work before. That evening, I cleared my inbox and found a small envelope labeled in scribbled handwriting, "For you." No return address. My heart beat fast. I opened it. Inside, one photograph. Me and Dylan, laughing in a photo booth at a friend's party 2 years ago. Our heads together. My eyes closed, smiling. I nearly hugged it. For a moment, I missed that version of myself, the one who could enjoy love. Then I remembered who came with it. I tossed it into the trash. Not upstairs where Duncan the garbage collector might get freaked out. Like, far away. 2 weeks later, Wes returned to the Austin branch. He showed up with coffee and a grin that said he'd seen me survive a storm. Our conversation was gentle. "Glad you're here. Glad you re-back." No awkwardness. Just two people rebuilding trust at their own pace. We never used the L word. We didn't have to. One time, he brought me a coffee with a little heart on the cup and said, "Thought you could use something good today." I paused, then smiled. Yes, I could. I joined the Safe Steps group as a mentor, because I needed women to see me standing, real, not perfect, and say, "She did it." And so can I. We shared stories over tea, cried over more tea, then laughed at how ridiculous it felt to be terrified of a doorbell. Real healing was messy. Tearing sheets from my bed and cutting locks from my apartment felt like rebellion. But laughter in a circle of survivors? That felt sacred. Months passed. I stopped checking my locks at night. I stopped scanning the parking lot. I watched a sunrise without expecting threats. I felt my heart open again to creativity, kindness, love. One evening, I passed by a bar where I used to meet Dylan. Lights were on. The crowd was laughing. Couples were leaning close. I nearly went in, just to face the memory. But I didn't. I paused. I breathed. I walked on. because I didn't need to prove anything to that place or to anyone who thought my voice wasn't enough. Later, I gave a keynote at a women in leadership event. They asked me to talk about resilience. So I told the truth. I didn't just survive. I reclaimed myself. Being at peace doesn't mean nothing hurt. It means I stopped letting hurt rewrite my story. Applause from entire rows. Tears in some eyes. I realized I wasn't alone. Back at home, I lit a single candle. Sat on my balcony overlooking the Austin skyline. Ordered my usual avocado toast and matcha latte, even though it was midnight. I paused. Looking out at the lights, I realized. Asterisk, I lost someone I loved too much. Asterisk, but I never lost me. Asterisk, the love I truly deserve doesn't bruise. Asterisk, and peace doesn't ask permission. I blew the candle out and let the night hold me, whole and unafraid. If this story touched you, share it with someone who needs to hear it too. Also, tell us in the comments, where are you watching from? What city and country? And have you, or someone you know, ever been through something like this?